Next up, I'm going to be talking about the cardiovascular responses. The cardiac dynamics. Heart rate reserve equals resting heart rate take away maximal heart rate. For example, if you're 16, your maximal heart rate is 16 minus 220, which equals 204. Resting heart rate is an average of 70, and so 70 take away from 204 equals 134, and so heart rate reserve volume is 134. Heart rate is the number of times the heart beats per minute. This is registered by taking a pulse. This increases by the intensity of exercise. This is because the working muscles demand more oxygen, so that the heart beats faster to get rid of CO2 and increase the amount of oxygen. The stroke volume is the amount of blood pumped from the left ventricle with every beat of the heart. The ANS takes control of all the unconscious factors that happen, for example, like breathing whilst in your sleep. The cardiac control center is what controls your heart rate. It speeds up when harder exercise is present, and slows down when you're at rest. There are two different things in the ANS. This is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerve. The parasympathetic nerve is the nerve that inhibits things such as reducing your heart rate or vasodilating and vasoconstricting. However, the sympathetic nerve accelerates things such as your heart rate or dilating your bronchi. There are 3 types of receptors: chemoreceptors, proprioceptors, and thermoreceptors. They monitor different things going on around us and within us. They also monitor the chemical changes in the blood, which from the information of this is then sent back to the cardiac control center, and then they send out a signal of what to do with this information. There is adrenaline, which is released from the adrenal glands. This can affect the heart. This increases your heart rate. Your hormones have the ability to also affect your heart rate. An example of when adrenaline may be released would be in the exercise where you're getting ready to exercise. The hormone is released into the bloodstream. This is normally in stressful situations, also known as flight or fight response. The parasympathetic input through the vagus nerve is stimulated with ACH, which binds to the receptors. This acts to decrease of the pacemaker and an overall decrease of the heart rate. The sympathetic input is via the sympathetic trunk, which innervates the SA and AV node. The fibers are a specialized nerve that detect differences in temperature. They are able to detect heat and cold and are found through the skin in order to allow sensory receptors through the body changing heat when exercising. Moving on to blood pressure. Blood pressure is average is 120 systole and 80 diastole. Blood pressure is the pressure of blood on the walls of the vessels. Cardiac output factor that changes blood pressure. A factor that changes the blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure, this can be due to unhealthy habits such as eating, smoking, or drinking too much. Type of receptor that allows stretch. These are called the baroreceptors. They are stretch receptors in vessels. They send signals on how much they are stretched and how stretched they are going. This signal is sent back to the cardiac control center and vasomotor control center, which then sends a signal to either vasodilate or vasoconstrict if the blood pressure is too high or too low. The parasympathetic nerve helps to slow it down. If you have high blood pressure, this is called hypertension. There are 3 different stages of hypertension. If the blood pressure is too high, you are at risk of developing a number of serious long-term health conditions, for example, coronary heart disease. If you have low blood pressure, also known as hypotension, this can be caused by heart failure or dehydration. An effect of this could be dizziness and fainting. Sometimes this can be life-threatening. Moving on to their investigation data analysis. When exercising, the body needs more oxygen, so there is an increased blood flow as there is an increased demand. The heart rate in the multi-stage fitness test is an example of this, as rest is around 13 and it increases to about 46. This can be due to anticipatory rise. This anticipatory rise is the response of the body preparing for exercise. As the multi-stage fitness test went on, there also was a slow but steady increase as it was from 13 to 46. The anticipatory rise from 13 to 19 in rest to pre-test shows that they were nervous or excited about doing the test. However, there was a big increase from 13 to 46. This shows that the increase of blood flow needed more oxygen. This person was working sub-maximally and they could have worked harder from the results. However, in the Wingate test, they produced signs of not really a major anticipatory rise, as they only went from 13 to 14 in rest to pre-test. However, post-test, they went from 13 to 36, which is a big rise for only a short amount of time. They needed a lot of oxygen, and so their heart beat faster, and it pumped less efficiently for blood to flow to the rest of the body. Compared to the multi-stage fitness test, which lasted for 20 minutes, and the Wingate for 20 seconds, it shows how intense that the wind gate really is, considering that their heart rate increased this much in such a short amount of time. For sporting applications, there are different ways in which the heart rate will change throughout a match. I have chosen football as my sporting analysis. Within a football match, your heart rate may be low if you're just running around the pitch, not doing anything, just running up and down maybe to defend a little bit. This would be low because not much action is happening, and so your body isn't getting ready for anything. However, your heart rate may moderately go up when you're doing a throw-in, as it is slightly a strenuous exercise. However, your heart rate will really increase if you were running down the line and you got past the ball. This may be because you have pressure on yourself for having the ball, and also you would have been sprinting at a high speed. This would be a heart rate increase, as it is a short, quick, high intense movement.